Hey dreamers, this is Anisha Jennings, a fellow immigrant and an entrepreneur. From being an engineer in India to building my tech business in the US, I've lived the journey you're on. Welcome to Your American Dream podcast, where we turn immigrant challenges into superpowers. Are you feeling out of place, struggling with a job hunt, or simply missing home? I've been there, and I'm here to guide you through it. In each episode, we'll dive into real stories, practical advice, and mindset that will help you write your unique success story. From navigating cultural differences to building a purposeful life, I've got you covered. So if you're ready to turn your immigrant experience into your greatest strength, let's dive in. Your American dream starts now. Welcome to Your American Dream. I'm Anisha Jennings, and today I'm honored to welcome Gloria Correa, Chief Executive Officer of Creating Change Counseling Center. Gloria is a licensed clinical social worker with over 2 decades of experience in trauma-informed care, community mental health, and nonprofit leadership. Raised in Paterson, New Jersey, her early experiences shaped her passion for mental health, advocacy, and social justice. Through her leadership, Creating Change Counseling Center has expanded access to culturally responsive, community-based mental health services across northern New Jersey. Welcome, Gloria. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure joining your community.
You're welcome. So tell us about, Gloria. How did you start your early life and how did you begin your career in mental health?
Okay. So if you want me to start with my early life, I'm going to tell you how I came to the United States. I am from Puerto Rico, so I'm Puerto Rican by nature. So I am a United States citizen. I was 4 years old when I came from Puerto Rico into New Jersey, to Paterson, New Jersey. So I was raised in the inner city. So I had to be a tough kid. And I came from a very low income family. So I learned throughout life what struggles and financial struggles could mean to a family. And then I went to William Paterson University and got my undergrad. And from there, I went to Rutgers University and got my master's degree in social work. Decided to be a clinician. I started my journey working for someone else. I wear many hats. I have been a program developer. I have been a therapist. I have been a case manager, clinical supervisor. And then it's going to be 10 years in June, this coming June 26th will be 10 years that I started Creating Change Counseling Center. I crossed my fingers. I said a prayer and I said, I'm going to go into business for myself. And God has blessed me. So I am very grateful.
Amen. Thank you for sharing that. And so you said you have worn so many hats. How did you decide that this was the career you're going to get into?
It's funny because growing up, I always wanted it to be a doctor. And when I was 19 years old, I went to paramedic school and I worked as a paramedic for about 3 years. And then I got sick. I ended up having breast cancer, a tumor, very early stages. Thank God for that. They call it very early. Uh, During that process and me going through that treatment, I started the support group for women. And I had taken a leave of absence from school. So I had stepped away from school to recover. And when I went back to school, I said to myself, I no longer want to be a doctor. I want to be a psychologist. I want to go into psychotherapy and I want to help people that are going through hard times and mental problems and concerns and illness. And that's how I made the switch.
Okay. So your personal experience drove you to this.
Yeah.
So you began your career as a licensed clinical social worker. What did frontline clinical work teach you about the gaps in mental health care?
So school doesn't teach us much, but hands-on does. One of the reasons why I also wanted to create my own program was because I wanted it to breach some of those gaps.
Mm-hmm.
I think that for a very long time, mental health was only for the people who afford it.
Mm-hmm.
There was not a lot of light on mental health because it also was so taboo, and it was more institutionalized and more of, the word crazy, which I'm not fan of. And it wasn't, I think, until the last, I want to say 15 years or so that mental health has become more recognized, that there's more benefits, insurance benefit for people to access mental health. and more services. And even then, right now, we have waiting lists for anywhere between 3 to 6 months to get into an agency if you have Medicaid or your insurance doesn't cover for you to be on a sliding scale or get charity care for mental health. There's still a very, very long wait list. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so when I created Creating Change, I wanted to create a space in where people of all ages, of all culture could come and feel at home and process their emotional aspect, because for me, the brain is just another organ in our body. The same way you could have cardiac arrest and your heart not working fine and kidney failures, your brain can fail you. And
Yes.
it's where mental health comes. But people don't see it that way. People you know, if you are a diabetic, you're rushing to the doctor and you're getting the right medication and you're doing the right things and changing your diet. But if you wake up one day and you feel like you have no energy and no desire to wake up and no desire to move and you're falling into a depression,
Mm-hmm.
you'll seek help.
Yes, yes. And what do you think has caused this shift in the past few years as compared to previously?
I think it starts with younger children. I
Mm.
think that the education setting started the shift because the education setting started seeing kids coming across with such behavior difficulties, challenges in the classroom, social anxiety, autism came to play, and I think it started shining the light on how there are so many older adults that have been underlooked during their
Mm.
childhood and that are now as individuals struggling as adults. But I think it started with the school system saying something needs to change here so we can help children become more stable. And then once that started to happen and when that started to play and parents became involved in their children's behavioral health needs, they were also being seen. And
Right, right,
professionals
right.
were saying, this is an intergeneration kind of thing. And maybe you should have had received intervention when you were younger. And, I think that that's what created the shift.
Oh wow, that's great information. So when you started your center, what were some of the thought process or the things that you needed to put in place, or how did you start it, or tell us about when
So
you started it?
I had a dream, right? And it's so funny because I didn't know nothing about business. At the time that I wanted to start, I knew nothing about business. I just said to myself, oh, I'm going to start a program. And you think it's easy because I knew all the clinical aspect part of it. And I knew what kind of program I wanted it to run clinically, but I
Mhm.
did not know the business aspect of it. And that's where my biggest challenges came. So I started as a private practice in an office from my townhouse where I was living at the time that I started, to renting a facility, to now purchasing my own building and having, hopefully by March we'll be in the new location and it's going to be a beautiful location because it's going to be spacious. It's going to have more than enough time in hiring more staff and growing in that aspect. But going back, looking at where I started, no one said to me the difference between an LLC or a nonprofit. No one said to me, you have to pay employee taxes. No one said to me,
Yes.
there's all these things that come along with it. And I was learning as I go. But 2 years into my journey as my own business owner, decided that I needed to self-educate and
Mhm.
I started going to workshops and going into all kinds of classes and management and business courses to learn about the aspect of that. Because even though what I wanted to do was create a program that was coming from my heart, at the end of the day, I had to also make a living because
Yes.
I had my own family that I had to support and so forth. So turning the mentality of clinical work into a business, I think was one of my biggest challenge.
So how did you navigate that challenge? And now 10 years, right? Like you looking back 10 years.
And it's learning.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts now?
I'm so glad that I did it. And there were so many times in where I said, I'm done. I'm quitting. I can't, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. But not giving up, it's important because
Mhm.
if you have a dream, you should follow it through until you see it into success because it could be successful if you don't give up. So it was
Right.
really just battering my own self-confidence and my own self-doubts. That was a humongous hill to overcome for me.
Right. Right. So as having your background in therapy and mental health, and also as a business owner, right? You know the challenges that business owners face initially when it comes to mentally battling these different feelings and thinking about, okay, I can't do it, I'm gonna quit, or I just don't know how I'm gonna go through this. What would be your advice for business owners, even if they're, seasoned business owners, still struggle with this, right? Like, what would be your advice to them on how to handle these kind of situations?
Well, first, I would say not to be embarrassed of any situation that you might find yourself in as a business owner. Sometimes we find ourselves in financial crisis. You
Mhm.
know, we can't make payroll. I was there once. There are so many programs. The state of New Jersey has a lot of programs and has a lot of loans. Get familiar with the SBA, because there's a lot of fundings out there that could be provided. Look into grants if you're whatever business you might have. There's probably like a grant out there that could help you. Look into that. Continue to explore. Um, if you feel like emotionally you can't handle it, seek out a therapist, a life coach.
Yes.
Just get help. Don't, there's no shame in saying, oh my God, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I need to talk to somebody to just ground me. You got to get grounded sometimes.
Right.
That even happens to me just recently with the transition of the new building and so many things that has happened. In that aspect, I felt completely overwhelmed and I just needed it to get grounded.
Right. So, what would be your advice, the first few steps if somebody is in a panic attack or in an overwhelmed state? What would be the first couple of things that you suggest the person do?
Self-reflection. I would say take a minute, take a deep breath, look at where you at, what you want to accomplish, and start problem solving how you're going to get there. So you have to self-reflect first and just get and develop a plan because anything's possible. And then again, like I said, if you feel like you need to talk to someone, you need to seek outside advice, definitely do so.
Yes, for sure. So, as CEO, you've implemented a trauma informed and culturally responsive approach. What does that look like in practice?
So my clinicians are all trauma focused trained. They are trained in a lot of different things, but one of the things that we do focus on is trauma focused work. So they all go through a program to get their certification to be trauma focused therapists. And they're Spanish speaking and English speaking. And we do have a language line services for other languages that we don't have clinicians on staff for. So we definitely could have a language line on with a clinician. And it does flows as if we've done it with one client. It does flows as if you're in that room with the person that's on the line.
Wow. So, what are the different languages that you offer services for as of now?
So the language line company, they pretty much have any language, but the only language that we had used so far outside Spanish has been Japanese.
Lovely. So, how has Creating Change Counseling Center expanded its reach and impact under your leadership?
Okay. So for me, I do a lot of marketing myself. So I do a lot of outreaches.
Hmm.
So my office is located in Morris County, but we service Bergen, Passaic, Morris, and Sussex County.
Okay.
Networking is extremely important. So I research what other mental health agencies are around, what other services that link to mental health. I'll give you an example. Early intervention, preparing children for the school kids that are on the spectrum, stuff like that. That's an agency that I work closely with. I do 0 to 5 therapy as well. So they come in contact with a lot of children. So we work hand in hand to try to serve the clinical need of any family that comes through their program. We have the case management organization through Perform Care and Children's Mobile through Perform Care. So we have contracts with them. So we do in-home therapy as well and create those services for people through the state program. I go into the schools and I give presentations. I am in the Morris County Mental Health Board. So I sit in that board. Just anything that I could get myself involved in, I get myself involved in.
So, how do you balance all of this, right? You're a CEO, you have a family, and the networking. What is your strategy on how to balance all of this?
I wish I had a magic answer for you.
Yes.
Um, um, It's hard. It's very hard. And I often tell like my staff, don't be me. Don't be me. Always, always think of self-care. Always think of your family. Always think about the balance of what you want to do. I'm a workaholic and I'll be honest. So I'm a workaholic. So I have sacrificed a lot of different things to try to get my program off the ground. And I have adult children now, but they would tell you, mom was always working. Mom was always working. That's their go-to. They always say, work came first, work came first. And for me, family and work was like hand in hand. I was a single mom. I lost my husband to cancer, so I raised my children by myself. And working hard provided for them. So for
Right,
me, I was taking care of my children by working hard. To this
right,
day, I work hard for my family
right.
to be able to leave my family something and have them not go through the same struggles that I went through. So working really hard and always staying focused on my career for me also was taking care of my family. But
Wow.
it's hard because the balance is really hard. And even now I try to make sure that I have time to get together with my children, for activities, movies, TV day, stuff like that, because you have to make time for your life as well.
Yes, for sure. Sorry to hear about your husband, but kudos to you for, managing all this and still following your dreams. And I've never heard this perspective before of like, work and family going hand in hand. And that's so true, though. Because of them, you're working so hard, you can provide for them. And so it's such a beautiful explanation of that. Thank you for sharing that. So, what barriers to mental health access are still most urgent in the communities that you serve?
Well, I would tell you this. I don't like talking about politics, but politics do create a lot of boundaries for services for families. Just recently, a lot of the people that we work with have dealt with Medicaid cutbacks, SNAPs cutbacks, and when people go into stress, when they don't know where they're going to get food, especially
Mhm.
parents with children, if they don't know how they're going to get food for their family and for themselves, that is a big, big impact because now you go into crisis mode, right?
Yes.
It's about survival. How are we going to survive? It has a ripple effect because
Yes.
it interferes in everything. I live in a very high populated area that you have a lot of undocumented families. And, we're dealing with ICE now, left and right, and people getting picked up and family losing fathers and, children losing parents. It is definitely something that has also frightened people. So they're not seeking help anymore as much as they used to.
Mhm.
With mental health cutbacks as well, all programs have had budget cuts. All nonprofit agencies has had budget cut this year. So I think that's one of the biggest barriers that I'm seeing right now.
Oh, wow. So you're a fluent Spanish speaker and you work closely with diverse populations. Why is cultural responsiveness so critical in mental health care?
So I have to tell you, and I'm going to talk about my own culture, right? And I know that it's different for every culture. However,
Yes.
in the Hispanic Latino community, to seek mental health means that you're weak.
Mhm. Mhm.
You are looked at as if you can't cope. And it becomes very difficult to process that, to say, you know what, actually seeking help is me having more courage than anything else. It's not
For
that
sure.
it's that you are strong enough to do so.
Right.
So there is that cultural impact. There's also the machismo that goes on in my culture. And, the male, there's a huge male dominant, and women say, my husband doesn't say I can do it. I'm not going to do it. And I think
Mhm.
that in many cultures, there is that machismo added, liarness and men
Right.
and society as a whole, men were taught that they can't cry. They have to be strong. They have
Yes.
to be a provider. They can't seek help, you know, and it becomes shameful. So husbands and brothers and fathers, they translate that to their generation, they tell their kids, oh, you're overreacting or suck it up or so it's definitely hard breaking that barrier, letting these families know that mental health is an illness just like any other,
Right. Right.
and understanding that. I think it's extremely important for us here at Creating Change. Like we see it all the time,
Yeah.
parents will bring kids in for services and they would say, well, the school said they can't go back if they don't get services. And, it's not like, hey, my child is struggling. I want to
Struggling, yeah. Right.
say that not that families don't do that because yes, I think it's a 50-50, right? You get a lot of
Right.
families that want to help their children and be involved and get their help. But there's also, I think, still so much stigma around mental health that makes families embarrassed. And even sometimes families will come in and say, my child needs help, but I've had this question asked to me. I want to be like the last client when no one else is in the office
Oh,
because they don't want to be seen coming
mm,
into a
right.
mental health agency or even themselves, I need help, but can I go in at 6 o'clock in the morning or we're not open at 6 o'clock in the morning, you know? And I say to myself, I find it to be so sad that people are still thinking like, if I'm reaching out to a mental health agency, that something's wrong with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But in reality, if you're reaching out to any doctors because you're not feeling well,
Yes.
I had a friend, she fell off her bike, twisted her ankle, and, she's like, I'm on my way to urgent care because she fell off her bike and twisted her ankle. She couldn't stand on it, right?
Right.
But that same friend had called me 2 months before and said, I don't know what to do. I don't want to see a therapist. What do you recommend? But I'm starting to having problems.
Wow.
And I'm like, you have anxiety. Do something about it.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So it's definitely hard.
Yeah. So what would you say to people who are in that situation and, who are dealing with anxiety or depression? What would be your suggestion on how to, I guess, be courageous to reach out or, just how can we make it easier for people to reach out?
How to make it easier? That's a tough question, right? Because that's from
Yes,
person to person, right?
for sure.
I might think that I can pick up the phone and make a phone call and I can reach out and get help. But
Right.
making that phone call could be extremely hard for someone. I guess my advice to people who are thinking whether I should or should not get mental health, I would say life is too short not to live healthy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We suffer all kinds of pains. I right now I hurt my this part here of my it's just so painful every time I type, right? So our body suffers all kinds of
Right.
and confusion and sadness and anxiety and uh, even severe mental health, delusions, wondering you seeing what you're seeing, all those things are treatable. And
Mhm.
if you just say to yourself, I want to be healthy, we're here. We're a community that we're here to help.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing that. So, what does sustainable leadership look like in the mental health space?
I think that knowing that your employees are also human beings is
Yes.
extremely important for leadership. I am very compassionate in my leadership style. I'm human and I go through life and there are days that I don't want to get out of bed neither because I'm tired and I want to sleep an extra hour and we're humans. We're all humans. We all go through it. So I think for any business really in reality, and I know that it doesn't work for every business. I know that there's a lot of people out there that are so hyper focused on whatever they want to achieve that they don't
Hmm.
realize how they treating the people they want to achieve that with.
Right, right.
So for me is compassion.
Lovely. So, what does the American dream mean to you now as compared to when you were younger? And, now you're a woman leading a nonprofit dedicated to healing and justice. So, what does it mean to you now?
Times have changed so much too, right? The
Yes.
economy has changed, the access to things have changed.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of living has changed.
For sure. Yep.
But I don't think the American dream is dead. I know I hear some people saying, oh, the American dream is dead. I don't think the American dream is dead because when you have a passion and a dream and the desire to make it come alive,
Mm-hmm.
the only person that can stop you is yourself.
For sure. Yep.
So I think that the American dream, it's still very much alive and I'm still chasing it.
Amen. So tell us, a little more about Creating Change Counseling Center. If somebody wants to get in touch with you or work with you or any of your clinicians, what's the best way to reach out to you?
So Creating Change Counseling Center is located in Netcon, New Jersey, 17 Main Street, Netcon, New Jersey. My direct phone line is 973 703-4642. I'll say that again for you people who are listening. I know they can also hit rewind, but it's 973-703-4642. And you guys can call. There's a little phone interview screening aspect that we do, insurance verification, and then we can set up an intake appointment.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. We will have all that in the show notes. So, what legacy do you hope to leave through your work at Creating Change Counseling Center?
It's a good question. We're always thinking like, oh, how do we want to be remembered and stuff. I know that one day I'm going to walk away from my agency, and I'm hoping that I leave my agency in the hands of someone who is always going to see the person in front of them and respect them no matter where they come from or their status in society, and that will always continue to provide services to a community as a whole, bias and with understanding of both the customers we serve as well as the staff we hire.
Beautiful.
For my kids, I wish that they always follow their dreams as well.
Yes.
That they don't allow anyone or anything stand in the way of what they want to reach. That they don't find themselves in fear one day without being able to move forward. Always push through fear. Get out of the way. It's just this inner voice that is trying to stop you from doing something.
Yes, for sure. Well, thank you so much for being here today, sharing your, expertise, your experience, and giving us so much information.
Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate your time too.
Thank you. As we close this deeply meaningful conversation with Gloria, I'm reminded that real change begins with compassion, courage, and community. Gloria's work shows us that healing isn't just individual, it's collective. If you're building a mission-driven organization or platform rooted in service and impact, I'd love to help you tell that story through a digital presence that reflects your purpose. This is Anisha Jennings reminding you that the American dream is strongest when it includes care, access, and humanity. Until next time.
Thank you for tuning into Your American Dream. I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and ready to take on the world. Remember when I first landed in the US, lost and overwhelmed? Well, look at us now. We're building our dreams together. Your story matters, and I'm so honored to be a part of it. If you enjoyed our chat today, please spread the love. Rate, review, and share. Let's grow this amazing community of dreamers together. Want more? Catch my daily doses of inspiration on my Instagram @JenningsTechCorner. Also check out the show notes for more ways to connect. Remember, your accent is the voice of your ambition. Your background is your superpower. Let's dream big and achieve bigger. Until then, this is Anisha cheering you every step of the way.